Here out of 105 players, we're down to 2 tables, 18 players left. Let's get right into the action.
All right, players, shuffle up and down. Viewers, shuffle up and down.
Might have forgotten to mention, but we are playing for $6,235 as our top place prize here tonight. We're going to have 12 spots played out, and a minor correction, 107 players. We're going to start our action with Mark Gruey.
You got to count them out if it's more than 40.
Mark Gruey is out of Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Thanks for making the drive, Mark. And I do believe he's all in. Justin Smith, our chip leader at the table, is going to call. Actually, Justin folds, Vincent folds. Looks like Kim is going to call. We just raised to 40,000. Oh no, we got Justin is in the hand. Kim is going to check over to Mark. He's going to check. Action is on Justin. He should be in the hand, but that's okay. Mark is all in for 4K. Both Justin and Kim call. It's definitely not enough for them to shy away. These are your 2 chip leaders at the table. Kim starting chip stack of 567,000. We're going to check into the turn onto the river. It's a 7 of hearts. We're going to check. They're just going to try to get a player out, knock him out. Mark's going to fold over or flip over his ace jack. Kim will have his ace deuce. Does pair it. And that means Mark is gone just like that. He did have a starting chip stack of 44K was the short stack at the table. And we'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the players now in seat 1. Vincent Anundson, he has not moved from when we did our original live stream today. He's got about 360,000 in chips. Kim Rasmussen from Foreman, North Dakota, had 567,000, but just added to that by another 80,000 or so. Chase Lardy in seat 3 out of Fargo, 168,500 starting chips. Brian Thompson in seat 4 out of Fargo, 232,000. Seat 5 is no longer existent on this table. Seat 6, Justin Smith of West Fargo. He's got 887,000 in chips. Seat 7, we have Steve Obregon from Fargo, 302,000. Ben Schur from Minneapolis, but does live in Fargo, 168,500. And rounding off our table, Buffalo City Showdown champion Jared Strode. A hand before we started this live stream, Jared had a sizable chip stack, of which was 2. Him and Justin, another player, were in on a hand, and Justin ended up winning, which ended up chunking Jared and another player. I can't remember who it was, but nonetheless, Jared is now our short stack at the table. So just checking and calling, blinds and annies all the way around. Kim Rasmussen will be our first to act. got Chase going all in. Did get a call from Kim.
Why didn't you tell me you were gonna do that? That's part of it. Obviously, the tree.
Chase is going to survive this one. So there you can see our chip stacks currently. As I said before, Justin Smith in the commanding lead. At this table, there is another sizable chip stack at the other second table, but still just eyeing it down, looks like to be a little bit less than the 800,000 Justin has.
That's the truck outside.
Once again, we'd like to thank Rec Poker for coming up to Fargo to join us here on this tournament. They are a very recreational poker-centric community building. They also have a podcast. And the Dakota Poker Tour is their first stop on a road trip. So they'll be rallying members and listeners to join Rec Poker at different stops, various poker tournaments around the area. They're already locked in for the Run Good Series in Iowa, June 22nd through the 27th. Looks like not much is going on the table right now. But if you want to check out Rec Poker, they have a podcast as well. Like I said, locked in for the Run Good Series in Iowa, June 22nd through the 27th, and the World Series of Poker for nearly a month. They will be camped out at an Airbnb, so not quite camping. But you can get all the details at rec.poker/roadtrips. Then all the other things that Rec Poker does for the average poker player, just rec.poker. It is not .com. I checked it out. Type in rec.poker, and you get to access their website.
To where?
The other table.
Yeah, okay. It would take
Just had a Chris Hansen sighting. He is here in the building. Very exciting to have him come on and get behind the booth and do some more commentary with me. So Steve is going to call the blinds. Blinds and antes are at 10, 20, 20,000. Steve's going to call the big blinds. Vincent is going to fold around.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that him?
Brian Thompson announces all in. Justin's going to get out of the way there. All in for 112,000 against Steve Obregon's 392,000. About a third of his chip stack. Should he call? Steve tanking. So 92K to call for Steve. It's an all-in and a fold. So Brian's surviving there. Not really much to survive when no one calls you all in.
A little less than 175.
And it looks like we will. Oh, we're just chipping up. We won't see Kim go anywhere. He's sticking around.
I thought
That's Justin's ad right there.
I had pocket fives.
it was ace ten.
Yeah, no, I had fives. Pocket fives.
I've had 10 times today. One of them 6 or 7 times. Chopping the half myself. 10.
Deuces and threes are technically way behind it. Not way behind, but it counts, so. We had a guy earlier at deuce and threes, he got counterfeited before third place.
Okay, Ben goes all in. Nope. He does not. Action's on Kim. We're just on the blind, so Kim will call the 20K blind. Action's on Brian.
Heads up.
Oh, good.
Oh, it looks like we do have an all-in here. Just not showing up on the graphics, but it does look like Jared and Kim. So all in is ace 3 versus pocket 10s. Flop come 5-10 jack. That gives trips for Kim. And the river's a 5. And that's going to do it. Oh, man.
Kim doesn't call, I probably would have called. Wouldn't have called if I hadn't been on camera. I don't want you guys to think I was serious.
That's going to do it for Ben Schur. He says he's from Minneapolis, but he only drove from Fargo, which is east of West Fargo. So not a very long drive home for him, but he got just less than 15 minutes of fame, so he can still use it up at some other opportunity.
They're in 20s.
Kim has a very sizable stack of chips. Just not more than Justin. He's got more yellows than him. I imagine we'll be chipping up the 500 chips soon. But action is on Vincent will fold. Kim's going to raise to 50. Chase going all in for 269,000.
Attention players. This level will end in 1 minute. After that, a 10-minute break.
I'm going to fold around. And Chase will take that down. Nothing too crazy.
Attention players. It is time for a 10-minute break. Please, stop play at the end of the current game.
We had.
Attention players. The blinds have changed. The small blind is 15,000, and the big blind is 30,000.
15:30,
The
guys.
ante is 30,000.
We're going to welcome Leonard Beck to the table. Is 180,000 in chips right now. I'm just going to fold around to Justin. He declares a raise of 60,000. I'm going to fold around. Kim folds.
Can't even get your face card. Give me a face card. Face card?
Justin will take down the blinds and annies. Actions on Brian Thompson. Seat 4 declares a raise here. So raised to 95,000. Leonard Beck, I believe, has already folded. Justin folds. Steve folds. Over to folding over to Kim. Kim will call. I think Kim's just thinking he needs to get rid of some of those chips because there's just too many.
Gotta defend the big blind. Well, you're gonna win.
Kim says I need to defend my big blind, which is a poker move. And our flop is going to come Jack, Deuce, Queen. Brian goes all in. Kim will fold immediately.
Kings.
Kim read him like a book. He says Kings
The big blind is-
after Brian went all in. We have something developing over on seat 2, or table 2, some action. We have a
That's actually 5.
2 all-ins, and we had ace queen versus tens versus, was that king jack?
You know, I'd still screw up somehow.
Flop of 8-9, jack 7-3. Probably going to see another player go down here.
If you shove, you don't break.
I have our tournament director, Dana Castaneda, making sure that everyone gets paid correctly over at our second table on the three-way all-in, essentially.
I didn't realize it.
Looks like we do have an all-in on our table one as well. Jared Strode, pocket tens versus an ace seven. Flop comes deuce, king, ace. Two spades. Runner, runner, spade, another 10. Or queen and jack. A deuce, he needs a 10 and a 10 only to win. Stay alive. And it's a king. Jared Strode, Buffalo City Showdown champion, is out. Trying to be a repeat champion in the Dakota Poker Tour. Not today.
Take a look, everybody.
Can be very tough to win 2 poker tournaments in, a season.
Assuming that I'm going to get zero.
It's a combination of luck, skill. You definitely need the wherewithal to make it through a tournament. That's what are we on right now? We're on our 9 hours, 9.5 hours we've been running today. So obviously fatigue is always one of those things. Mental fatigue, not quite physical fatigue, because you're sitting down all day playing cards. But mental fatigue, especially when you might be running cold for a while, that gets a little tough to stay focused. And we're on the bubble, by the way. Top 12 spots get paid out. I think we're down to 13 is what this means.
I'm gonna get some money, right?
Yeah, so
Yes, 20 out of the pocket.
they're all saying 20 bucks to the bubble.
Dana, can I borrow 20?
Yeah.
It's kind of an unspoken rule or tribute to the bubble person that you were so close, yet you didn't quite make the money, but we'll throw in 20 bucks since we're all going to make a little bit of cash
Now my wife knows I got that much money.
to kind of thank the bubble person for going out on the bubble. And our action is now on Justin Smith. 30,000 to call. Our blinds are up to 15, 30, 30. It's going to raise it up to 80,000.
They're all paying $20 out of your pockets in the bubble.
The bubble's gonna get 240. Well, I've done it both ways, and
So you agreed to it. You just want to take 20 out of your prize money?
you like to have that insurance policy in case you.
Justin shows his queen jack suited connectors. It's getting first place, $6,235. So a lot you could do with that.
But if you go a ways in and do that, then your insurance.
Let your imagination run wild with what you could spend that money on, or you could save it. Saving is good. You should save money. Don't spend it all.
Yeah. Didn't have the 110.
Yeah.
It wasn't monster, but it was suited. Suited broadways. Probably.
Chris Hansen will come on once we reach our final table. So I think that would mean we need 4 more people to go out.
There's a problem I have to
Vincent raises to 90,000.
No, I get to feel black chocolate. Made it out last night. Felt it at 4.
And fold our action over to Leonard. He's going to fold, and Vincent's going to take home the blinds and antes. I'd like to thank you for watching us on YouTube or Facebook. It's the only 2 places you could ever find us, at least for our live streams. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, and go all in on that notification bell if you want to be updated on all the latest Dakota Poker Tour hype videos and future broadcast live streams. Of course, you can share with your friends the live stream right now on Facebook or any social media platform. I mean, if you haven't liked the Dakota Poker Tour yet, go ahead and do that. Do it now. It's easy. Thumbs up button. Click.
Yeah, she read them off.
500 for 12,
62 up top.
62 up top.
Leonard will call in the small blind, and Justin will check. See a flop here.
I'll propose that.
Flop comes.
Yeah, I've tried that before, and it's always like 8 to 1.
Suspense is killing me. The flop is 3 cards, but Leonard's going to bet 30,000.
10th, 11th, and 12th are all tied.
5, 9, 8 came the flop. Justin calls the 30,000. On to the turn here, and it's a jack of spades. Justin calls at the all-in.
I might want to get it under 5 grand.
It's going to be severely disappointed to see that he just doubled up Leonard Beck. There's nothing he can hit.
W2G.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
We have a bubble net.
Oops, I had my card switched around. Justin hit the 2 pair.
You look.
Oh, no. Justin will not be upset. Justin will be ecstatic to boot another player out and pull in another sizable pot, adding to his chip lead. Justin Smith, a force on the felts tonight. And that was the bubble boy,
All right, your bubble.
Leonard Beck.
The next player's guaranteed $500.
Thank you, Leonard.
Yeah.
See you guys.
You get 20 grand yourself. Oh, you don't get 20%.
No one really thanked Leonard for being the bubble guy. But you get $20 from every person, so that's going to be, you do the math on that, 20 times 13. Next person to go out will take home $500, and we are 2 players away from being eliminated before we final table. But if you are sitting down playing poker right now at the Speedway Event Center, you are making money. Could be $200 or it could be $6,000.
They go hand for hand, you know, and you're sitting there just excited to get in the money, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, the dealers stand up when you're done, and all the dealers stand up and like, go ahead and deal.
Certainly don't want to take away from any of these poker players' past achievements, but for me, we have a lot of new faces here on these 2 final tables. So
We made the money, it's fine, but
congratulations to all these players.
Gonna make a plus that he put his chips in the line.
I haven't had to do the water shave yet. I don't put them in. Senior, super seniors, that kind of stuff. Well, they're gonna have it this
Not a
fall.
bunch of action. These couple hands, and we'll take this opportunity to thank one of our beloved sponsors, Randy's Diner, where you can enjoy some homemade daily lunch specials and soups. They got famous cinnamon streusel coffee cake. Yum. Also, they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's available all day, every day. And they also offer some senior and military discounts. I got a number of years before I can capitalize on those senior discounts. Maybe you want to take your parents out, if they are seniors, over to Randy's Diner. We're going to start our action here on Kim. He's going to fold. Chase a fold. Brian.
Yeah, that's pretty much every card room in Texas. And they have them on every corner.
Brian looks down at 2 cards and folds.
And they all have one.
Over to Justin. Justin will call.
Come around and, I played with Cascades for live games, where they come around and grab 10 or 20.
Steve will call.
off your stack.
No, it's cash.
I've also seen where they came, come and take like 10 or 20 bucks off your stack. You pay like 10 or 20 bucks an hour as well. Midnight or all night.
Steve's going to bet $60K over to Vincent. Justin has to think about it for a bit here. Justin will call. Justin versus Steve. And the river comes at 3 of clubs. Options on Steve on what he wants to do. Steve's gonna fire away for 60,000. Justin will just call. Looks like he caught Steve in a little bit of a bluff here. Justin had top pair with kings. Justin just cannot be chunked at all today.
Got yourself. Plus, I don't think it's okay.
I'm going to finish off on my little shout out to Randy's Diner as we went back to the action. But some amazing news. Randy's Diner is a new location coming soon to West Fargo. It'll be on 32nd Avenue, just west of Cheyenne Boulevard. If you're like me and tried to eat at Randy's on a Saturday, Sunday morning, and it is absolutely packed, and you just want Randy's, but you don't want to wait so long, they have a second location opening to help meet the demand of the Fargo-Moorhead area and how much we all love Randy's Diner. So we're going to have Chase will call big blind, action on Brian. Fold, Justin folds. It's time for Steve to go all in, he says. Being the shorter stack at the table, and maybe the shortest stack.
13 players left. Got second. Yeah, I had 40% of the.
Sounds like Kim is going to call. Action over to
I was already
Chase.
money, so I didn't break that. I was like, intentionally went to
the
Chase,
implied
not a
odds of
fan,
you
but we
coming
do have an
home.
all-in and a call.
I got 2 unders.
We have pocket rockets, and he has 2 unders, he says. Versus Queen 10.
Good luck, Tim. He doesn't want to be drawn against both of you. So.
King, 10, Jack.
9 the ace. But a queen makes him a straight.
If the ace makes me or a 9 makes me.
So he's got a pair of 10s. An ace would be devastating. Turns a 4 of hearts.
Queen, 10, ace, or 9. No queen, no queen.
It's a 6 of hearts.
Nice hand. That's a good flop for me, though.
It's going to double Steve up. Steve's happy.
It's never easy, is it? You know?
Steve's a happy camper right now. He just doubled up off a chip leader. One of them.
Called 30. I mean,
Another notable in the field, Michelle Meza on our second table. There she is, down to 5 players over there. And we definitely wish Michelle some good luck to final table. I think a second time. Last female standing in the field. But that doesn't matter because she's just a badass poker player.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas was the full right there. Like I said, you don't want to be drawn against
So no one will be kicked out at this point. We're gonna move to Vincent, who will raise to 90,000. Action's on Kim. He'll fold. I think everyone folds, so that's gonna bring us over to our next hand.
It's 500 for 10 or 12, 11 and 10 are all 500, and it's 600. Then it was 7. You don't get over 1,000, but you get 6.
So action will start here with Justin. Gonna fold around to Kim.
Oh, you guys are so nice. I haven't even looked yet. What do you do?
I didn't make a move.
I had to go double down hand.
They were probably going, oh, he's praying somebody does something.
Did it cost you every time? Or do they-
Times I, because of what, 2 of the times, like 6 players. And then a lot of people went, I had aces.
Still only got 1 pair. You still only got 1 pair.
2 of the times the other times I did win, like one of the times I flopped the house, I got it a little while.
Again, we're playing for $6,235 to our top place prize. We got 107 players today. Total prize pool of just shy of 22K.
don't beat yourself up. The whole world's saw it.
We were making fun of him, rock off that King Jack for 40,000 more, but I said, he thanks you.
What if you turn around and win it, then it was the right move.
Yeah, but he would have more chips right now. It was a good move, come on, let's
Right,
settle that.
but when he's all done, that's what I'm
Yeah.
Because sometimes,
Action will start here on Vincent. He's going to go ahead and fold over to Kim.
but you'd have played a lot better if you had more chips, you know what I'm saying?
Kim's reaching for chips, raising to 80,000. Chase will fold. Action's on Brian.
Not even a call.
And Brian will also fold.
When you have a string call situation,
Yeah, he pushed I was gonna raise.
Got checks from my wife, so I should have done.
No, no. I didn't say raise. Yeah, okay, good. I'm good with the call.
So Justin will call. It'll be Kim versus Justin, our two chip stack leaders right here. Flop comes 9-3-6. Actually, Kim doesn't have as much. He just has a lot of grays. Kim will fire away for 75,000. Justin's going to call.
Yeah, this ain't the smartest thing I've ever done.
hey, if someone at the table can find all the orange chips and the white chips,
Check.
We're going to check down to the river as a king. Justin bets 125,000, which will
Should bet more.
make Kim fold. That was, we don't know what Kim had, but definitely nothing
No, I won't.
worth holding on to. So Justin will bring in a sizable pot.
yep.
So we're going to start our action here with Kim looking down at two cards that are not good enough to play. He's going to go ahead and fold. Chase a fold. Brian getting chipped up here, getting rid of some of his grays. Justin will fold over to Steve. 15K to call. He will call. Vincent has the option. Vincent's going to raise to 60,000. Steve will fold. Blinds and Annie's will be going up. We're going to take a quick look at our chip count. Justin Smith with the commanding lead with 1.3 million. And Chase Lardy 640K. Everyone else has, you know, the rest of the chips on that table. I don't know what the other table's looking like. Definitely not as strong as a chip stack as Justin. They're probably all around that 3 to 500K mark. Probably maybe no. There's some shorter chip stacks over there. After I eyeball it down. Like to thank the Speedway of West Fargo for opening up their doors for us to bring our full production in and having a pretty kick-ass poker tournament.
Attention players, the blinds have changed. The small blind is 20,000 and the big blind is 40,000. Now, the entrée is 40,000.
Justin's going to raise to 75,000. Steve folds. Action over to Vincent in seat 1. Wants nothing to do with those two cards and folds. Kim will call. Flop comes 7, king 4.
I folded.
Justin bets 75,000 and Kim quickly folds, which brings Justin another sizable pot over his way, chunking Kim, who was once in second place on our feature table. He had a bunch of chips. Blinds are up to 20, 40, 40. So those who are chip stacked or short stacked, they got to start making moves. It's going to be time to go all in pretty soon. We're going to be chipping up the 500s and thousands, especially since our blinds and annies are at 20K, 40K, 40. Be pretty ridiculous to be throwing out a stack of thousands at this point. Just to call a blind. Justin will call. Chase is going to just check on his option. I guess Chase and Justin haven't tangoed in a while. So, which is true, Justin has been taking care of business with other players first before he gets to Chase. Flop comes king 4 deuce. Turns at 10. Justin will fire away for 50,000. And Justin does, I think, flip over aces. So Justin will win about 100,000. I think we're just waiting on one player to bust, and then we will reconvene for a final table. Actually, 2 players. We have 6 on our feature table and 5 on our second table. Looks like something is brewing on our second table.
Did you see how that was done? You notice how that walk works? You know? Okay. Just thought I'd point it out.
What do you mean? You know you're walking again.
Oh, we have Michelle Meza all in.
I let a guy walk 2 times down the big blind, and the third time I wasn't going to because I had 10-6, and then I'm like, hey, show you. Missed the flop. I don't see it off.
We're going to see what develops here on our second table. Michelle's at risk. She's all in for 175. One player left to decide if they want to take Michelle out or potentially double her up. It looks like we have an all-in and a call. We have Michelle Ace Queen versus pocket 6s and 9-5-6 on the flop. Pretty much drawing dead at this point. That'll do it for Michelle's. Wait. We have a straight on the board. Oh my God. What just happened? Michelle lives to fight another day. This is incredible. Wow. We all was like, oh, well, she didn't hit her ace or queen, so she's gone. And like, wait, there's literally a straight on the board. Everybody calm down. Okay, now that the blood pressure's come down a little bit, coming back to our feature table. We're gonna have Justin going to raise to 80,000. Looks like Steve's gonna be all in for 10,000 more. We have an all in. Justin exposing his pocket 6s. Justin has caught a 6 on the flop for trip 6s. Wasn't quite dead. Needed a miracle. Did not get it.
I get a vote. Counterfeited. Counterfeited 7 high plays.
So that means Steve will go out in 11th place, also paying 500, same as 12th, and 10th place will actually also be getting 500. Still, overall, if you did buy in for the full 300, you would be making $200, which if you break it down hourly, not the greatest. But if you're having fun playing poker, then it's nothing to something to be proud of. That's for sure.
I expect implied odds. Well, he's got to call too.
There's always one sucker at the deal. If you don't know who it is, it's you. Probably.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, I didn't know who it was. You guys are assholes.
Start action on Kim.
Oh, dead.
Chase will fold. Brian is going to decide what he does with these two cards, and we'll tell you what happens when he does. Folds. Justin is also going to fold.
Ooh.
I had Jack 6.
King
I had 2 live cards.
2, 3. He raises. I'm glad
See how that's done now.
I'm glad I didn't wake up with King Queen or something, because he's going to raise. Any ace.
Short-handed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really going to stop with the other one.
Yeah, I'm really going to out late.
Even 5 in.
Yeah. You're ahead 90% of the time. I like 90% off. Yeah. Way ahead. I mean, if everybody's calling. Yeah. I shouldn't say way ahead.
Matt Jensen was in the field earlier today. He's definitely on the leaderboard, was hoping to up his position to top 10
Yeah.
with a
I had 8
win
high.
here today
Yep,
or
see?
something, but
8
got busted out earlier today. Justin, arms are probably getting tired by this point, pulling chips in constantly. If we have a masseuse that we could bring around to massage the arms and backs of these players, a lot of them are pushing chips away, and Justin keeps pulling them in.
Oh, now we're on the delay.
Yeah.
Have an all-in on table 2. All in and a no call. Michelle survives. Vincent will raise to 150,000. Everyone folds and pull in the blinds and annies, which is it 20, 40, 40? So it's 100,000 every time if you steal the blinds and annies, which keeps you in the game that much longer.
That's why I thought the at 80,000.
He's just trying not to get time. He wants to make the file there.
I thought for sure it was going.
You know him all the time.
Yeah, so, but I just wasn't having it. Yeah. I'm gonna look first.
So we got 2 players into the turn. Justin's going to bet 75,000. And Brian will fold. Perhaps a wise decision.
Player down.
I just heard player down. That means we are down to 9.
He was shuffling, I think you gotta play this hand. Yeah.
So we are down to 9 players. That's going to mean we'll take a break soon. We're going to wait until this hand was currently being dealt as the other player busted. So we will play this hand out. We're going to play this hand out, see what happens. Should someone decide to go all in and bust this hand, they will take home $600.
There's gonna be a player out now.
Well, tell you what, here's your guys' chance. I'm all in.
Oh, Kim decides to be that guy. All in for 170,000, right around there.
Not really.
Brian folds. Action's over to Justin. Justin, 1.6 million in chips. Commanding chip leader here today.
Well, I'll tell you in a minute.
You win. $500 richer or not?
They were live.
They were like, I said you had 2 overs.
Justin will
Get
fold,
a pair. I thought
and
you
we are
got
going.
a small pair.
We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we have final table action. Chris Hansen joining us. $6,235 on the line. Who will become our next DPT champion here at the Speedway Event Center? Vroom, vroom. We'll see you at the end of the break. We are back here at the Speedway for final table action. Out of 107 players, we are down to the final 9. Like to welcome Chris Hansen into the booth with me today. How's it going, Chris?
Great day for poker. The weather here in Fargo is a little meh, so I think that helped get a lot of people out here today, and obviously a great weekend as well. West Fargo. This is going to be a lot of fun. This table is, it's got a cool dynamic because you have one player who's just by my look, about 60% of the chips in play.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. That's Justin Smith on the table. We are going to see how he manages his chip stack to see if he can maintain it. We've seen over time the large chip stacks throw away their chips left and right, such as Cody Slusher at one point, I believe, at the windbreak is the last time we saw that. So, but not to name names. Sorry to traumatize you, but what are we playing for right now?
First place tonight, 53. I asked the tables a couple of minutes ago, and about half of them that this is the closest that they've been to a score this big.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, you know, you bought in for 150 or 200 or 300, whatever it is with the add-ons. It's a big chunk of money for a lot of these players. Tonight we'll walk
You
up
guys can do
600,
anything you
but
want.
everyone wants that top guys. Justin's going to be tough to
discussed in the
beat.
bathroom is up
And
to
it's going to be
us, but-
interesting to see if he beats himself.
Yes, exactly.
That does happen in the poker world.
Yes, so, hey, let's get right into the action here. See what the final table, who's going to take home, who's the next DPT Season X champion here at the Speedway. Let's jump right into the action.
Unless you write off your last one. All right, guys, get ready. Shuffle up and deal, please.
It's gonna be about 30. Yeah.
Every single buy-in.
But like last week, I could write my 300 off, but I didn't have it. But you need to keep actually. Yeah, I should have like no problem, like whatever this tournament, this date, 300. Yeah, I know you do. I don't.
We're going to go ahead and introduce our players here on the table. In seat 1, we have Brian Thompson, starting with 375,000 in chips. Seat 2, our chip leader, Justin Smith, 1.855 million in chips, commanding chip lead over the rest of the field. Kim Rasmussen, 235,000. Todd Nicholas out of Fargo, 580,000. Chase Lardy, 60,000. Definitely our short stack here. Michelle Meza with 200,000. She has final tabled 3 of the last 5 events she has played in. Pretty incredible stat. Vincent Anundsen has been at the table all day long, 456,000. We have Young Gun Yu out of Fargo, 440,000. And rounding off our table in seat 9, John Worden out of Fisher, Minnesota, 475,000.
All in on the very first hand. First hand of this final table. And as we mentioned during the opening of the answers, Justin has just a large stack of chips that we've been watching since he's on the 2 tables. And he is
Yeah, it's quick picking.
by far more chips than anybody else. So he eliminated a couple of players after he got past the bubble. And so it's going to be tough to beat. You look around the table, you see a lot of single stacks, and he's got multiple.
Yeah, it's insane. And I've been watching Justin all day and always taking players out. It's just incredible what he's been able to do today.
So blinds are 20 and 40,000. Ante. And that's coming from the big blind.
I know who I gotta watch. Yeah.
So the Speedway Events Center hosting this event here today on a Saturday, and it turned out that, yeah, the weather was not real great, but I think the want for people to get out and play some live poker is definitely there. And so Dakota Poker Tour, along with the charity here with the West Fargo volunteer firefighters. A good day for everybody.
We had Rec Poker join us today too. Are you familiar with Rec Poker?
Yeah, out of the Twin Cities came up for the event today, and so that's cool that gets a little bit more publicity. And I think that poker slowly now, whether it's through Dakota Poker Tour or things like that, and then casinos across the country opening back up, and players wanting to get back and playing. I think that recreational poker, I think, is personally, I played a lot of recreational online poker over the past 15 or 16 months. And so I think a lot of those people who got into the game, kind of maybe a reboom in the poker world.
Yeah, I was talking with Steve from Rec Poker, and he's a huge advocate of new players, and you might be scared to join a tournament even of this size with the Dakota Poker Tour, and he will literally go there with you to help you sign up and get bought in. So it's incredible things what they're doing for the average recreational poker player, such as myself, I'd say.
So Chase is all in, and he was under the gun all in for his last 60K. Again, blinds at 20 and 40,000. So far.
Oh, John will 3-bet to 150,000.
Brian folds over to Justin, our chip leader. He will fold. Both the blinds fold, and so we have our first player at risk here at the final table. And pocket jacks versus jack 4. And the flop is deuce, 9, deuce. And the 7 on the turn means that Chase is drawing dead, and so Chase Lardy will be eliminated, and that means he gets the first prize money off of the final table.
$600. It's not bad. Doubles your buy-in if he bought in for the full amount.
Frozen bucket stays here. New rules. Razzy's rules.
And I think that that kind of elimination is one of those things that it'll be interesting to see some of the other players that don't have the stack that Justin has in front of them, if they're going to be willing to say, if we're going to go up against this guy, somebody else has to mount some chips. Otherwise the rest of us are just kind of sitting around awaiting our fate.
Yeah, you're not going to get blinds, and Justin's not going to blind an ante out of this tournament. You need to chunk him, and he just get caught with, probably get lucky, honestly, or Justin maybe calling a little bit loose is something we might see if a shorter stack is all in, and it only takes a couple double ups, doubling up another player before Justin might realize, I don't have such a big chip stack anymore.
Yeah, Chase was the short stack at the table, so he sat down at the final table with just 60,000. Action now over to Brian in seat 1. He folds. We did have a raise from John Worden to 120,000. And I'm sure you've already mentioned this on the live stream, but we are literally 10 feet away from the table. So if we're not discussing about what is going on, that is the obvious reason why they are not able to hear us.
This is how it's been the last few tournaments, and it's been pretty entertaining where they can actually hear us commentating. So you have to say enough. You can only say so much, so you got to fill it in with other things that you say, I guess.
Talk about filling it in. Look at that shirt you've got on today.
Wow, yeah. It's bright, it's loud, and it screams poker.
In the immortal words of the late, great Roger Dangerfield, when you buy a shirt like that, you get a free bowl of soup. But it looks good on you.
I'm still waiting for my free bowl of soup.
Young gun you on the gun, deciding what to do. Again, blinds are 20 and 40. We have just under 8 minutes left in this blind level. He will fold. John folds. Michelle is all in. She's all in for 120,000. And so we're going to get a call from Justin. And
Justin grabs a chip.
Yeah.
I call.
So ace 5 versus eights. And the flop is 6, 9, ace. 3 on the turn. A heart would give her a flush and doesn't get it on the river. And so that's it. Another elimination quite quick here. Michelle and her pocket eights go down in flames.
But takes home $765. Not life-changing money, but that you can feel good about going home. And
her fourth final table.
Our research team just came back with the true stat. Fourth final table that Michelle Meza has made it to. Wow. At Bismarck, Jamestown, Tioga, and now, wow. Thank you to our research team for working diligently on pulling all the
Literally
proper
a
stats.
team of interns crunching the numbers and surfing the internet. So that means now 7 players remaining. 7th place gets $980 here. Next player to leave. And again, yeah, I know it was only $120,000, but again, there's your chip leader, knocking somebody else out, you know, and accumulating all those chips and just kind of.
Yeah, it's
like,
sickening,
it's
almost.
like the big pile of mercury at the table. Everything is flowing towards the mercury all flows together.
We got Kim all in here.
He did get a call from Todd behind him.
Wow, we just have straight up action on our final table.
Full bet with 5 behind. Right below that. 7 fold. You want 8 or 8?
No, 3. Todd 3 bets to 345,000 to box out anyone else that might want to call and pull in some chips, but we are heads up.
Kings versus 7, and the Kings are at risk. And the Kings are going to double up. Yep. So, Kim Rasmussen, if you've played poker around the Fargo area, you've definitely seen Kim at the tables.
So I had a little bit of a fan section in our comments on the live stream, I believe on Facebook. I suppose while they take this time to split up the chips and make sure Kim is paid on his all-in, we'll go ahead and thank one of our sponsors, Posh Hair Studio and Spa. They're a Fargo Moorhead locally owned salon and spa. They help build independent small businesses and are a one-stop shop for all your salon and spa needs. They do anything from hair, hands, feet massage, facials, spray tanning, and even microblading and permanent makeup. That's a lot. It really is a one-stop shop. I can't think of anything else that you would need from a salon and or spa. They have a very convenient online booking service, so visit Posh Hair Studio's website at poshfargo.com.
All right, action's going to start with Brian Thompson. Brian with 375,000 in front of him. That's 120,000. So now some of these short stacks that you're getting to this point where you raise, and now you're committing, a third, almost to a half of your chips just with one raise. And he's in the unenviable position of having a guy with about 2 million in chips sitting immediately to his left.
Right next to him.
Justin folds, Kim folds, Todd folds. And we're up to the big blind. Looks like everyone's going to be folding. And Brian is going to win the pot. About 2.5 minutes away from the blinds going up, currently at 20 and 40,000.
Suited, but suited, but with them raising the head.
Once again, thank you for joining us on Facebook or YouTube. And go ahead and give this video a like and share. Give the page a like and share, and don't forget to go all in on that notification bell on YouTube. Make sure you're up to date on all the Dakota Poker Tour hype video drops and live streams.
Couple more events coming up very soon, the next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
on either end of the Red River Valley.
June 4th, Friday, June 4th, we'll be at, Terrace Lanes in Wahpeton for a turbo event. And then the very next day in Grand Forks, we'll be at Southgate for another one-day event there. So if you like driving north and south, come on down to Wahpeton, then straight up to Grand Forks, June 4th and 5th.
Attention players. This level will end in 1 minute.
Got through it.
Now you did that a little backwards. All of a sudden you looked at me and go,
Actions on Vincent Annison.
Seven calls, 8 folds, 9 folds.
Attention players. The blinds have changed. The small blind is 25,000. And the big blind
All right, so we got a call from Vincent and small blind folds and a check from Justin. Flop is ace 8-9. Action will be on Justin first. He checks.
Three bets. 7 bets.
40,000, the bet from Vincent. I was talking to Brooke Leiter about Vincent, and his poker career has been a long one. I was telling a story about in 2007, actually won a trip to the Bahamas to play in the Bahamas, thanks to poker here. locally.
Wow. Is it FPN League? Or?
Yes, yep.
Wow.
Not bad, huh? That he ended up winning a state league and got to go to the Bahamas.
It's insane what some bar poker league could do. Send you to the Bahamas, we send people to Vegas.
And I didn't want to bring it up, but it was the year after Brooke Leiter took second in the Bahamas. I didn't want to bring that up,
Yeah.
but it was the very next year back in the Bahamas for a World Poker Tour event.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible history.
We got to remember that Brooke Leiter with Dakota Poker Tour, pretty darn illustrious poker career of his own.
Yeah.
But he didn't win. He took second. You gotta
It's just the
keep
last
that in
loser.
mind.
Action's over on John, and he's going to raise it up.
Gonna make it 100, yeah.
Blinds are now 25 and 50,000.
Tried to raise to 80,000. That's illegal. Must go to 100K minimum.
Justin folds the small blind over to Kim.
beat a 5 on the fold.
2 folds, 3 folds. All right, 8, 10.
Kim was at risk of busting out probably an hour ago. So we're down to 2 or 3 tables. Somehow finagled his way onto the final table and take home a minimum $765.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing there when you see Justin has over 40% of the chips in play, and behind him is 17 big blinds. I mean,
They measure him, everyone else in big blinds,
Yeah.
and Justin just has a huge percentage.
I know I started off by saying it looked like he had 60%. It feels like he's got about 80% of the chips in play right now. But still a lot of poker left to be played. So Young Gun Yu could be one of those players here that has 570,000 in chips that could make a run to try to get up towards the level of Justin Smith. He calls here, excuse me. No, he did raise to 100,000. The yellow chips are 25,000s. So Todd Nichols, thinking the silver with 115,000 in front of him, decides to let it go.
All right, guys, when we're dealing too, when you get your cards, just make sure you leave those cards in those boxes for a good 3 seconds.
Okay.
That's the joke he was going for.
What was that last home project you were doing? Putting something on your egress windows, some covers on it, or you're working on
yeah.
winterizing. Did you get all that work done? The housework done?
Yeah, I did. I did all that. I built brand new ones this year, and you know, the struggle is real when it comes to me and power tools.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those guys that I like to think I know what I'm doing, but really all I'm doing is just making a mess.
Making holes and cutting things apart
Yeah.
and hoping it fits together.
Yep. I'm a measure once and cut 3 times kind of guy.
Cut once a little too large.
Yeah, oh.
Second time a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Third time fits.
You know, I think about it now, building those window covers with the current lumber situation that we're in.
Oh yeah.
Those covers that at that time cost me, I think, $150 to make, probably now would be like $6,000. I think if I rounded it down.
No, just in general.
Back to our action on the table. No, we're not a DIY program, unfortunately.
It's not what we're doing here
Be
today.
bad. Todd Nicholas all in for 65,000. Young Gun Yu has the decision to make. Looks like he's reaching for chips and will call.
You gotta get one over.
All right, so live cards for Todd, but currently behind. And Todd is at risk.
Oh, there's 2 pair for Young Gun. That's going to do it. Well, has 1 out. It's a 5.
I called you Brian too, didn't I?
It's going to eliminate Todd Nicholas in 8th place.
7th place.
7th place
Yep.
for $980.
And so that means now we're over the we're into 4 digits.
Yes,
We've
love to see
jumped
4
up-
digits.
We've jumped up to $1,240 now for 6th place. And again, as we had said, there's another situation where Young Gun's one of those guys building that chip stack up and you know, taking out another player and adding to his chip stack. He's getting close now to $1 million in chips.
He's going to be able to, you know, go to war with Justin with the chip stack he has rather than am I all in or not.
Right.
Just pointing it out to you so you know.
Yep. If I can't, yeah.
Again, first place prize tonight, $62.35. Second place, just over $4,000, $4,050, and third place at $29.50. So the number you really want to get to is you want to get to third. That's where, I mean, the difference between third and fourth place is about $1,000. And so what you really want to do is try to work yourself into that third place finish. Whether you do that by just hanging on, or you decide, you know what, I'm going for it, and try to, you know, chip it up that way. Two different ways to do it. Personally, at this point, I'm going for broke. If I'm one of those players that is sitting there with, you know, less than 10 big blinds in front of them, I don't want to sit around and wait. Let's try to make something happen.
Right, you're already making a pretty penny on the time spent. We'll be on almost our 11th hour here playing. We break it down hourly. That's pretty good hourly money right there, especially for playing a game that you love.
Justin raises to $130,000. Doesn't look like there's any action, so the chip leader wins another pot.
So looking up some things you can do with $6,000 is you can spend that on a World Series ticket. You could afford a New York luxury hotel that's offering, you know, weekend divorce packages, giving divorced couples access to the resort spas and all those things for $5,000. There's even a hamburger in Las Vegas you can buy for $5,000. So spend $1,000 to get there, a little bit of gambling money, eat the best dang hamburger in the world, and then it's all gone. You have to come back, play another Dakota Poker Tour event.
Win again, just to eat another burger. As we said, Young Gun U is up to $910,000, and I believe that puts him in second place here at the table behind Justin Smith. John raises to $125,000.
Brian announces all in for about $325,000.
So $200,000 more for John to call.
Only third of his chip stack.
So Queen 7, Queen 8, right, is quite kind of the, you know, when you look at one side of the level or on the other side of the level. So if you have King 10, that's way above the level.
Right.
But if you have like Queen 3, that's below the level.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So you start looking at the chips that what you have in front of you and think, okay, what could that other player have? Or you start looking at Queen 8 and above are hands that, you know, you feel pretty confident
What's the
about.
acceptable range that you think they might be going in?
Correct.
To.
Or in that hand, Queen 7,
Right.
not good enough.
No.
You know, Queen 10 suited probably is going to be a call. I mean, it's that close, right?
Right.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say all your chips. That'd have been really nice. All four of those. If you can beat this. Yeah, that's natural. I don't like chips. I like sure things.
Action's on Vincent with 330 in front of him.
You're either gonna beat me or you're not. What about those guys?
Yeah, especially when you get to a situation where you're the cutoff right before the blinds, or you're on the button.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, I'm up against two random hands. What could those two random hands be? And I start thinking about, you know, Queen 8 and above are probably raising hands in that situation.
Right, absolutely. Oh, Vincent all in with 331,000. Action will be on Justin. About 2 million in chips.
Or I guess you could look at it the other way. If you're just trying to make a run,
Right.
you could have 6-4 offsuit and decide this is my time. You know, I get it. When you're going up against other random hands, and chip stacks come into play, obviously, too.
And you really can just win with any two cards.
Sure.
So sometimes it really doesn't matter.
You just got to be right more than you're wrong, which, if you're married, is real tough.
got 5 here, so.
If Justin's chip stack represented his body, to call this would be a big toe.
It was a good move. If I didn't wake up with any, you know, I would have had a big ace or any pocket pair. Yeah, I never loved it. I never loved it.
Chip leader's gonna fold an ace.
Had to have been a low second card. We couldn't see on the screen, but there's no way he was going to fold at ace jack, ace 10, maybe ace 10. That wouldn't be a bad laydown.
No, again, what's your pain tolerance? Ace 10, you feel pretty good. Ace 9, ace 8, well, you're maybe just gonna have the one over card.
Yeah, that's about
or
it.
if you're both sharing an ace, you know, that's.
He had that.
These are the decisions you have to make multiple times while you're playing.
But he didn't have that many in him yet.
Early on, it's one thing. Now, when you're this close to being at the end, it's a whole nother thing.
Absolutely.
He was puking in the garbage can right when it started. Yeah, within 10 minutes of the tournament started, he was puking. Yeah, I saw him one time. It was lovely. Yeah, it was good for you.
Just going to swap decks real quick.
He was drawn pretty thin after that. I said to Queen, I thought the Queen like equity to win, and it wasn't the flop. Yep.
Thank you to our dedicated card runner. Stands around, waits until the possibility a card that goes dead, so we swap decks.
I would love to have that job next time.
It's $1 an hour.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. It's a bucket card you swap out.
He hits the break. It was a king and a king only. Yep. 2 kings or 3 kings.
8%.
3 kings. Well,
Three, because he had.
He had 3.
I have 3.
Yeah.
And that would have been the end of my night.
Yeah, because that would have put him down. But you had enough to cover.
No,
All right, Brian, get in on some
He
selfie
ended
action.
up getting a side buy.
Oh, that's right. He did.
This way.
Yep. Yeah, they both have to cover.
Oh, we're taking selfies back here.
We see our chip count. Justin upping his percentage of the chip count by 1%. We'll have John fold around to Brian and to Justin now.
Thank you. Thank you.
50K to call.
You wanted one of those.
Hey, thank
He's
you.
gonna fold.
Come on, show
I had a monster, man.
Kim says he had a monster. Doubtful. Yep, 9-5.
Not good fold.
But it looks like Kim will take down the small blind, as he was the big blind, so he just gets to take back his big blind in ante.
10-6. Let Dana win that hair bracelet on.
9-5 out.
That's what he had? 9-5? I can't remember what I won. I honestly don't remember what I had.
We have, I think, our biggest crowd yet watching.
I got lots of
Big audience.
Winning on 9-5.
Obviously, most of the players that bust out go on home, so we might have some close friends, families, and even our bartenders here watching all the action.
Another deck.
Justin will call 50,000.
Action's on Kim in the small blind. He will hop in. Over to Vincent.
7 checks. 3 players on the flop.
He checks, so 3 players will see this flop.
Yeah.
Flops 3, 10, 3 with a couple of clubs.
3 checks.
Generally, you see a board like that, and it's not a very vibrant board. It's not much to play on. So you're going to see some conservative checks. But Justin will bet 150,000.
Shows the table as
That was
aces.
very suspicious.
Like, wow.
I wondered how you limped.
Almost like somebody
Right.
How do you play aces? Do you just kind of limp in and try not to, or do you raise right away?
In that situation where I'm up against, more or less just up against the button in the blinds, I probably would do the same thing, or a min raise, just because you're trying to maybe induce some kind of action.
Right.
That again, you don't want to scare anybody away. You want to give somebody an opportunity there. But if somebody there had, 8, 10 of clubs,
Yeah.
in the big blind, now you might get yourself involved in a hand, and you're in a fairly good position to knock somebody out. But if you raise, you're probably going to get 8, 10 to fold before they would even see the flop. So you're increasing your chances of maybe knocking somebody out, not making the big play. But at this point, Justin could do whatever. I mean, he could stand literally on the table and take his shirt off, and everyone's gonna be like, "Yeah, he can do that." He's a
We can't kick him out.
No, when you have that many chips, you can do. You have all the plays.
Everything. We won't tell him that.
No, keep your shirt on.
Yeah.
Raise, all in, raise to 100,000, all in.
And we have an all-in from Kim Rasmussen. He's all in for 220,000. Justin raised right before him to 100K.
And a call.
And Justin calls, and so it's Ace Queen versus Queen 8. Kim trying to double up and stay alive.
Which looks very likely here, but you never know.
Jack 5 King is the flop, a 4 on the flop. And he gets it on the river. Yep, that's just the kind of day it is.
I felt that deep down. Kim eliminated in 6th place, $1,240. I think even Justin threw up in his mouth a little bit.
I mean, that's, when it's your day, it's your day. I mean, when it is your day, it is your day.
Justin, stretch your arms out. You're pulling more chips in towards you. Also, you need to repent for those sins.
Years ago, I was involved in a tournament and got to the final table, and I was second in chips and got into a hand with the chip leader pre-flop, and I had ace queen suited, and he had pocket queens.
Oh, no.
And, of course, he raises, and I call, and the flop is Brick City, and he checks, and I bet, and he comes back over the top of me. I'm like, oh, crap. By this point, I had over half of my chips involved in the pot. And I'm like, I think he's just trying to push me out. He sees that I'm second in chips. I'm going to be scared. So, like a donkey, I go all in. He snap calls and hit an ace on the river.
Oh, no.
And, so it was one of those situations that I had no business being there, but I made my move. It worked out for me, and I went on to take the tournament down. Long story longer. But, it was one of those situations where, you just get into that situation, and sometimes you can't get yourself out of them. You have to rely on luck to get you there.
Yeah, you hate that you did it that way.
But you know what? We
But that's
we
poker.
cashed a check. I think we turned that into a swing set in our backyard. And,
70,000.
not going to tell you the rest of the story.
That's an expensive swing set.
Yeah. But just like that, there with with Justin, that he was dead to rights until that 8 came on the river, and that cost him his tournament. And Justin continues to accumulate chips. Now with 2.4 million in front of him.
I think over 50% of the chips in the field. I don't know what I'm more repulsed by is when someone rivers me or I river them. It's sickening either way, but we continue on.
Yeah.
There's more hands to play. There's more players to be rivered, get knocked out of this tournament.
So now 5th place tonight will be worth $1,590. The jump up for 4th, not all that much considering what's to play for here at $1,900. But as we said, what you really want to do is you want to find yourself a way to get to 3rd place. That's right now. That's all I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking about going out in 5th. I'm thinking, how can I get to 3rd, one way or another? Because 3rd place is double what 5th place is.
Yeah, it's a $1,000 jump from 4. That's where your big money spike happens. We'll start our action here on Justin Smith.
You got 7.5 minutes. No, I'm in on the TV.
Yeah, they're 25 calls.
Oh, the TV.
Blind still at 25 and 50,000. Got about 7 minutes left in this blind level, playing half-hour blinds. Looks like Vincent's moving all in. Over to Young Gun U.
Excuse me, 7's all in.
Young Gun asking for a count.
200, 250, 260, 280, and 290.
For 290.
He folds. So now over to John. And that might have been a situation there that if he's in the small blind or big blind, he might have made that call. But with, you know, more players acting behind you,
Right.
you know, you don't want your 200,000 call to turn into, oh, now I got to call another 400,000 on top of that. If somebody else moves in, you got to be thinking about that next move of what it could cost you in the end.
It's a pretty smart play by Young Gun there.
That's true. 125.
Yeah, I'd certainly love to play.
Young Gun reaching for chips. It's going to raise to 150,000. John will fold. Action's on to Brian. It's 125K to call.
So at this point, your call is about half of your stack. So if you're going to call, yeah, you have to make that decision. Am I calling or am I going to move all in? And he decides to make the all-in move.
Yep.
So it appears that Justin is going to be folding here. And that would be 225,000. Roughly a third of the chips that Young Gun has in front of him. Well, he is going to lay it down. And so a win for Brian Thompson.
This was an intense moment right there. Felt my heart stop for a bit. Forgot to breathe. Wasn't sure if we were going to see a bunch of action or not.
Call next time, would you? I'll raise.
I hadn't made it look like I wanted to call.
No, you actually, what it takes. We're racing, we got to keep fine.
Well, I just
How many pictures are you going to take of us?
We're racing with you.
We can tell. We know.
I had two left.
And looks like John raises to 105,000. Over to Brian. Justin folds. And Vincent. In the big blind.
Not right now. How I've been running.
Is that a panda bear or a raccoon he's got?
I believe it's a panda bear.
Okay. That's what they look like.
It's not life size.
Oh, it's,
Yeah, no, it's scaled down.
it is quite a bit scaled down. Oh, wow. He goes all
Vincent's
in.
All in for for 365,000. So 260 to call for John.
Sir, we discussed this earlier. The Panda goes in.
We have confirmed it is indeed a Panda. And John will fold.
Panda, I see, you got him, I see. He comes home to you always. You get it, comes through, Panda goes in.
That should be your all-in chip. Panda. He's in.
5 players remaining here at the Speedway Event Center in West Fargo, North Dakota. Top prize tonight, $6,235. Next player leaving walks away from the table, $1,590.
Card protector.
What's his face? He's just a petrified piece of shit.
Troy.
Brian taking his time on folding or not. Ends up folding. Justin announces a raise.
Yeah, we have 1 minute left in this blind level, currently at 25 and 50.
2 raises. 3.
And now we got to raise to 150. 300,000.
Now's your chance.
Over to Vincent.
Now's your chance.
And Vincent is going to move all in. And we do have a call.
Well. Justin finds himself in another all-in situation, elimination. We got 5s against King Queen suited.
Flop is ace 3 jack with a couple of clubs. So there's some major sweat going out of the table. Another jack at the turn.
13 outs, a third of the deck, and he does hit it.
Wow.
Justin finally gets a taste of his own medicine, gets rivered.
And now Vincent, with that win, is at 1.2 million in chips. So things are getting interesting. And if you're Justin, now you have to think about, okay, now I got somebody who's in the ballpark, right? Like I've been playing, most of this feature table and then to the final table, having, a commanding chip lead. But now you have, you've got Vincent in the neighborhood, and you've also got Young Gun in the neighborhood too. So it's
Yeah.
now you maybe adjust your play a little bit. But if you're, how do you make that adjustment?
It's no longer 60% of the chips. It's
It's
a third, perhaps maybe a fourth. I'd say a third at minimum. But still, to double someone up and still be the chip leader, and John didn't have the smallest chip stack.
Right,
it was
yeah.
still in the hundreds of thousands.
Yep.
Maybe about
And both players,
500,000.
they're doing exactly what they should have. With 5s versus suited paint, that's the way it goes, and then you just get lucky, or you just hope that you get there
Yeah.
on the river. I mean, he had so many outs going to the river too. Obviously, that he had overcards, he had the flush draw, and so him getting there is not much of a surprise.
No, 25% of the deck was going to allow him to win that pot there. Blinds are now up to 30, 60, the 60K big blind ante. Now it's getting expensive to play.
We wouldn't have limp.
Yeah. And the idea just went to the aces. Too close. I heard it.
Just research team back hard at work, figuring out the year 2007, Vincent went to the Bahamas off of FPN for the FPN National Championship. Off of the net.
Well, your cards technically haven't touched the muck. You want them back?
Nope. Sure don't.
And as we're getting live updates from the research team, he beat about 5,000 players at the time.
It's funny that the research team isn't mentioning what happened the year before with a catastrophic loss the year before in the Bahamas, and I'm not talking about a hurricane. I wonder.
It's more of a metaphorical hurricane.
You still have that Hawaiian shirt? And did they make you wear that at the final table, Brooke? You should. Because that wasn't your shirt. They obviously provided that for everybody. You didn't bring... You packed that shirt. Wow. Brooke Leiter now telling us that he owned / owns a loud Hawaiian shirt. I just read this week that they're making a comeback. But for people like Brooke, they never went away. So they come back. I don't get ready, I stay ready. That's the situation that we're in.
It's like Brian's, it looks like a raise, it's just a big blind. Young gun will fold over to John.
So John calls. Brian has the option. Flop 6, 5, 7, 2 spades. 75. John bets 75K.
I think Brian flipped over his 5 and folded.
Yeah, I mean, it's bottom pair, but at the same time, when you've got 5 players that are remaining, if I find a pair on the flop, man, I'm loving it. But you got to keep that in mind of, what's the other guy going to be? You had the 2 blinds were playing against each other. It was a limp and a check.
Also, there was a open-ender straight possibility with the 5, 6, and 7. So who knows, what the other player had. We know, but they don't know.
Yeah, that would make the game much different, wouldn't it?
A little too easy. Vincent will fold. Young gun folds over to John. He will call the 60K big blind.
Brian in the small blind. The cameras are getting zoomed in. We're going to get closer to all the players' reactions and looks. And again, at the start of the final table, I'd asked all of them, I said, hey, this is the closest you've been to this kind of score, and over half the players at the table raised their hand that they had never been in this kind of position to winning $6,200 in cash. So
they're treading new waters right now.
Yeah.
This is unfamiliar territory. You do have to change your game up, but don't deviate too far. Still, you've gotten this far from 107 players. You've made it down to 5. You don't have to do too much different. Just stay the course. And there's our first extreme close-up of the evening.
that is close. I think he had a hamburger for lunch. We got so close. Yeah, after some rapid fire eliminations right away with a lot of the small stacks at the table, we've now gotten to the point where, you know, everyone's within shouting distance. I mean, everyone here is more or less a double up away from being over $1 million in chips. And so things I'm expecting are going to tighten up here for about the next 15 to 20 minutes. Obviously, the cards can change that, but
That's a very natural ebb and flow of how these tournaments go. And we just got to sit and wait for the cards to come, and it'll be exciting when they do. These players are on into their 11th hour of playing. So as I always mention, is fatigue, mostly mental fatigue, does come into play at this point. At what point might you just be satisfied with a 1,500, or if you are mentally tough enough to get that 6,000 top prize, that definitely does come into play. I've been playing for 11, 12 hours now. I'd be happy with up to 4,000, or go for broke and get that 6,000. That's what you really want.
and you work that out of how many hands that they have seen today. You know, you're getting roughly 30, 35 hands per hour. So you're pushing that, getting to close to 400 hands that you've already looked at and thought about and made decisions. And, and a lot of that time is just folding. You're really not paying much attention, but at the same time, it's a cumulative effect.
And one thing that I saw on the Valley City Eagle Eye tournament, Jared Strode, who took it down, every single hand all day long, took the same amount of time, hardly deviated from his behavior, and then made his call. Whether it was a fold or a call or a bet raise, didn't matter. And I talked to him about it, and he said that was probably the toughest part of my day, but it's what I do when I play poker, is I take the same amount of time so no one can get a read. And you could tell it was wearing on him once we were getting down to the final two, but he stuck to his routine, and he stayed mentally tough enough, and he ended up taking it down.
Well, something else that does too is it just makes you feel comfortable. There's a reason why, when you play golf, that you should, every time you putt or every shot that you take, try to keep it reasonably the same as you can, because it feels comfortable.
Right.
That if you've got a birdie putt from 8 feet, you got to take that putt exactly the same as you would as if it's for bogey.
Yeah.
You got to think about it the same way, and don't put any more undue pressure on yourself. And so doing that actually can be, it can accomplish a couple of things. One, it just makes you feel more comfortable. You're doing the same thing every time. And two, it's tough to pick up reads. If I sit there and think about it, 3, 4, 5, and I fold, or I'm sitting there 3, 4, 5, and I make it a 3x raise, you take out one of the things that maybe people are going to pick up on you. We got 3 people in this pot currently. Looks like Young Gun is grabbing chips to bet, and he is. Bets 175, 120. John folds. Over to Justin.
Justin is looking at 2 cards and will make his decision based on those 2 cards.
All right, so Justin is going to make the call here on the turn.
His decision is that, yes.
So this was a limped pot. There's no raise pre-flop. They all check the turn, or the flop, excuse me. And now an ace comes on the river. And Young Gun is first to act. Does he want to continue betting here, or is he going to check and see what Justin does? Gun checks.
Justin will bet the 300K.
And Young Gun will fold.
Now Justin's doing the thing he does, pull chips towards him, puts him up over 2 million.
And Young Gun at one point was over $1 million, and now he's down to under 400,000. I think we're going to take an updated look at our chip count situation here,
On everyone?
or come back to us sitting here.
Well, here's your chip count update. Justin's in the lead. Perhaps Brian is our short stack. We'll find out eventually.
Blind 30 and 60 with a 60K ante out of the big blind. And Justin is raising. Nope, calls. Action folded around to John in the small blind. He hops in, and now Brian with the option. Next player that's eliminated will have $1,590 cash money when he leaves here, the Speedway Event Center in West Fargo, North Dakota.
That flop came King 4 Jack. John will check over to Brian in the big blind position.
Now this is also where it comes into play that we saw Justin not that long ago had aces and just limped in. I guarantee you that is playing on the other players' minds of like, okay, what's he up to over there? You know what I mean? That comes into play. At least it should. Another king comes on the turn. So Brian bet, and Brian takes it down on the turn. Going to put a little plug in here for Poker Night in America. We have just got started with our 8th season of Poker Night in America.
Oh, wow.
And a brand new season with no new poker being played. But what we did was put together our 8th season will be a kind of a best of, if you would, with every week being a different theme.
Oh, okay.
So the very first theme that we had in episode 1 of season 8 was Aces Cracked. Of every time over the 7 years that we had of footage of putting in shows where aces got cracked. Another episode of Poker Night in America was when sets no good. I mean,
okay.
You flop that set, you're thinking, oh, this is so great.
It's
and
incredible.
It toasts. We have a Phil Hellmuth exclusive episode that's coming up of the best and the worst of Phil Hellmuth.
That might be,
yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Most watched show by far. And where can they find these Poker Night in America?
You can watch them on CBS Sports Network. You can also watch them on our YouTube channel the day after they premiere, and they're on every Monday night on CBS Sports Network. So,
Oh, I'd actually
It's
watch
kinda fun.
some. I watched some on YouTube. I had to gather some intel, or at least see some advice maybe.
oh, I wouldn't take any advice
vicariously
from what I'm saying.
through. No, I was watching
Yeah,
your
watch the
co-host.
player. Oh, yeah,
and
yeah. Anybody but me.
but
But that's kind of fun way to create some new content and
Yeah.
put together hands that we already had, and another one of the episodes is going to be the biggest pots that we've had, the biggest hands that we've had, and those are cash games, right? So we have cash games where we had pots that are over $500,000, and so those are a lot of fun to play when you start watching some of the best players in the world that playing at that level is really something.
That's the top level.
But at the same time, you say that, but when you think about it, it's really no different than you and I are sitting in my garage playing. That the players are so comfortable because they've been
Right.
there, right? And so you'll see things you're like, what are they doing? Well,
it's $1
they're
million.
They're just playing poker.
That's all it is.
That's what they do. Whether it's for a $10 pot or a $10,000 pot.
I definitely feel bad for the guy who has to go back through 7 years worth of footage to find all the aces that have been cracked I
I
hope
think-
they've documented that at some point.
I think it was, of the 7 years, was something like, I want to say it was like 55 events or something like that over the 7 years, or 55 different
Oh.
tapings. So anyway, just a little plug there for the show on Monday night on CBS Sports Network, and at pokernight.com you can watch all the episodes there too.
Do you have Justin in a hand again with Vincent? Vincent will bet the 150,000.
So Vincent bets 150,000. Action is on Justin.
Justin reaching for the red chips. Those are 100K each.
Raise?
Oh, we got a re-raise from Justin. Up to $500,000, so it's 350,000 from Vincent a call.
Just going to be half of his chip stack, just under.
Justin did raise pre-flop, so that comes into play, obviously. And look at that, best hand will fold to the aggression. All right, here's our updated chip count.
Justin back up to over 50% with 2.7 million. Just tangoed with Vincent, 770,000. That's only 12 big blinds. Again, Justin being measured in percentage of chips and everyone else back into the big blinds. Young Gun might have been blinded down. That's what might have happened in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and he got into a couple of situations too where he made raises and came over the top of them, and that's the price of this
Right.
kind of poker. This level with the blinds is, you start making raises to 150 or 180,000, and when someone comes over the top, it can disappear pretty quickly.
That chunks you pretty good.
So John is all in for 415,000. Over to Brian. So this would be for almost all the chips that Brian has. So there's not going to be a call. It's either going to be an all-in or a fold. I'm guessing the fold is out of the question, so I think we know what's going to happen here. Yep, he is all in. So that'll eliminate everybody else, and so
We'll flip him up.
get into the gates, and we've got ourselves a good old-fashioned horse race here. Pocket nines versus ace king, and it is John that's at risk. Flop is deuce 4-6.
It's also what 2 is.
Yeah, but in the poker world, it's a deuce.
Right, of
Yeah.
course.
I might be one still.
And pocket nines hold up.
I got 4 something. 5.
It's going to cripple Brian to about 120K left.
So he's going to have just 2 big blinds now in front of him.
Boy, that sucks. But coin flip, that's what happens. It's a 50-50 shot. You either win or you don't. Let's get our top prize right now. $6,235. Our next player eliminated will be just shy of $1,600. The big jump in winnings comes when you hit third place. $1,000 difference from third to fourth.
That's tough to do.
Well, guys, I got 2 cans to make now. continue on. Brian now, after losing that hand, not able to hit with ace king, is going to do first act, and he is going
One's
to
all in.
put them all into the middle.
Also all in. Who's all in? Thanks for the protection.
And Justin goes all in right behind him.
Can you open money right now?
And the rest of the action folds.
Anyone else calls that, and they're going to be at risk, obviously, because Justin is the chip leader.
Yeah, and so Brian here, not in a horrible spot for your tournament life. He's got suited cards, 2 overs, and as you can see, he's actually a favorite to
A
win the
better
hand.
horse race.
Flop is king, 3, jack. And there it is.
Oh, but the threes.
Oh, sets a 3, and that's going to do it for Brian.
Justin,
Oh,
you dog.
he just continues to do what he has been doing for about the past 4 hours here at the Speedway Event
Unbelievable.
Center.
12th time in this tournament.
We're going to try to talk to Brian about his run here. We're going to, after he gets his payout, get him over here and ask him how much he hates ace king at this very moment. I'm guessing a lot.
Justin now up at 3 million in chips. You can call him a bully, but I'm just going to call him the chip leader.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting that, again, we saw him take that dip to where, you know, a couple of players were right there within sniffing distance of, you know, a raised pot away from him, and now he's gave himself back that distance.
Justin Smith stock, so hot.
Yeah.
It's rising.
You know, it took a bit of a dip. It took a little Bitcoin dip. But
That's
you gotta
consolidation.
You got to buy those dips. You know, you get the dip, and you know it's going to go back up. Justin's a good, solid player. He's been playing well all day. You got to buy that dip and say, hey, I know this is going to go back up.
Yeah. Going to the moon right now. Justin's gunning for that over 6K for the first place prize.
Over to John. John with 830,000 in front of him. And I know these players are, you know, gunning for the $6,200 first place prize, but the big winner here tonight already has been the West Fargo Volunteer Fire Department, the charity that's involved as they are with all of these Dakota Poker Tour events, and so it's great to, you know, raise some much-needed funds for a very worthwhile organization to help them continue their service to the city of West Fargo. So that's cool. They already got their money.
Yeah, they're a very incredible charity to work with. We work with them on the gaming side of things as well, and feels good to bring them on.
All right, so Brian, one question is, this might be the quickest interview ever because I know you're probably steamy, just got KO'd. Thanks for coming over. Hey, how bad do you hate ace king right now?
It's a hand in that position. You got to.
Yeah, no, right?
It's a race. I figured we were probably racing. So in that position, at some point in poker, you got to get lucky.
Right. I mean, it just happened. You get knocked out with a certain hand, but it usually is a hand that leads to you getting knocked out, and that's what happened.
Yeah, it is, and it's to that position there. I thought about laying it down for a second, and I'm just. You got to get lucky in poker, and you're racing, and
Basically, you have one orbit to
So with a player that you got tangled up with the chip leader, when the player has so many chips, when he is so far ahead of everybody, what was your mindset as players start to get eliminated? Were you trying to just hold on, or were you trying to push the action?
No, definitely wasn't trying to push in that situation. You're looking for hands to play, but you know, it's nice having the chip leader to my left because he has over 2 million in
Yeah.
chips. So I know, but you know, if you're calling, you might be calling for all your chips every time because are you going to call off when you're way short stacked in him and he makes a $300,000-$400,000 raise?
Yeah.
That's the rest of your chips if you're making the call. So you got to be prepared. And I just, in that situation, ace king there, that guy, I figured we were racing. I did think about laying it down for a second. I just thought at this point I got a race, and then obviously the next hand.
You're out.
I can play one more hand, but I had Jack 7, and heck, I didn't mind we were racing again.
Right.
Three's Jack 7, and what's he get on the flop at 3? And I got a Jack, but hey, it's over. You know?
But as I'm looking at the starting of the final table, you had 375,000. That puts you in the bottom half of the people
Oh,
who
yeah.
came to the final table. So you got to be happy
No,
with
I
leaving
mean,
with a nice over $1,000 payday.
Yeah, I had the min buy-in today. I was the one
Nice.
buy-in, so
Nice
I had
work.
1590 payout. I can't complain. That's a good day at work.
For sure it
That's
is.
a good day at work.
Awesome. Well, hey, Brian, thanks for playing. Hope to see you some more on Dakota Poker Tour.
Thanks.
You
Have a
bet.
good one.
Thank you very much. Brian Thompson eliminated in 5th place for $1,590. And we're now with 4 players remaining. And, yeah, Ace King, he's exactly right in that situation. That, like, you were begging for a big hand like that. And, yeah, he mentioned it, having Justin to his left as the chip leader. It can be a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Yeah. I think we did have an all-in, but I don't think anything happened. No one got eliminated during that interview. And Chris, you said this might be the shortest interview ever, and Brian said, no, I'm taking all the fame I can get. I'm going to give the best answers. The last times I've interviewed people, they've been like, yup, well, I felt good. Okay.
And then?
then
No, Brian did a great job here today. A lot of fun. And yeah, the last thing we talked about there, that he came in at 375,000. At that point, you're like, okay, if I can get in the top half of this final table, which he, came in 5th, technically that's right there in the middle. I think you're pretty happy at coming in that short, and then to find out that he was in for the min buy-in today of 150.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
just a grinder all day long.
All right, blinds are now going up to 40 and 80K, with an 80K ante coming from the big blind. All right, so John out of the small blind. Looks like he's raising. Raises to 120. Over to chip leader Justin. And the flop is ace, jack, deuce. And John bets out. 75,000. Over to Justin.
You know, I have to say that interview with Brian was incredibly insightful. Hats off to you, Brian. That was an amazing interview.
Maybe the best one we've had tonight.
The only one.
Well, you didn't have to say it was the only one.
Yeah.
You ruined the story when you tell the fish was not as big as what it really was.
Now we can't interview anyone else.
I'll take it.
But we are four-handed now on our final table here at the Speedway Event Center. It's been a very, very fun day. We're approaching our 12th hour of poker. See if our players can stay mentally focused enough to go all the way. Win that $62,000 or $6,200, and Young Gun you will go all in for about $90K.
I guarantee he's going to get two callers here, for sure. Small blind calls. And now Vincent in the big blind, it's just 10,000 more to
Yeah,
call the all in
it's-
to try to eliminate a player. So he's going to, if he doesn't raise, he might raise, but.
Basically paying the big blind to at least see a flop. And
So
another
here we
play
go.
would be to go, re-raise or go all in to try to isolate the all-inner. But here we're seeing just going to see a flop.
Flops queen deuce 7. And they go check, check, as you would expect. They check the turn. But now Justin is betting.
2 bets. 225.
225,000 is the bet over to Vincent. So we're $500,000 in this pot.
Vincent,
And-
again, that FPN National Championship down in the Bahamas. Sent him down there.
Young Gun is grabbing his personal effects as when you have people are betting against you when you have a side pot going is usually
Yeah.
a good indication that things are about to get very tough. And they're folding top pair in that situation. It's tough to do, but he had to the aggression from Justin Smith, and Justin turned 2 pair.
He even turned him in. He's got one out. One outer. Oh, it already came up.
Yeah, you missed it on the turn or river. So that's going to be it for a Young Gun.
So
U.
2 10s. That gave Justin a boat. An unnecessary boat, perhaps flexing too much muscle.
Never enough.
Never enough.
So here's what we were talking about: getting to that third place money. That's where the money really gets. It's all serious money. But you made $1,000 jump from 4th place to 3rd place, and so now you look at it as, okay, I got to this level. Now it's Katie bar the doors. Let's run. Let's try to make something happen.
Yeah, this has been a very eventful final table. Congratulations to Young Gun. We're going to have to talk to him.
I'm all right with second.
Not much happening on our next hand here. But hey, if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, thank you very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, go all in on that notification bell, do all the things. So you be notified of all of our upcoming events. Yeah.
So John and Vincent are going to try to take Justin down here, and Vincent just 5 big blinds of 440,000. John's the guy you got to kind of wonder about. Is that he's been maybe the least active of the other players besides Justin at this table.
But he's gotten here, so
He's gotten here.
he's had enough to. Oh wow!
So we got an all-in, and I believe a call.
From the 2 smaller stacks,
Yep. So ace 4 versus pocket 5s. Flop is 6 king 3 with a couple of spades. Turns a 7. So now a 4, or excuse me, an ace or a 5 doesn't get it. And so that's going to do
We're
it for
down to
Vincent.
2.
Just like that. And so now we're heads up. So because you combine those 2 chip stacks, now you have one player that's going to have what's he have, like 1.2, 1.3,
right around there, yeah.
somewhere in there, million chips versus 3 million in chips. So now you get to heads up. This is something that most players are not accustomed to. You get to this, you maybe played 3-4 handed in some kind of home game you've played, but when you're purely playing heads up against another player, something that a lot of people don't have much experience in.
No, it's a completely different. I mean, there's either, as we saw, I believe in Dickinson, no, as Valley City, Jared Strode battled it out for, it seemed like 45 minutes, whereas other times we've seen it's all in or nothing.
Right.
If you're going to raise, you might as well go all in, but it just depends on the mood of the players, if they've had enough, or if they want to. There's a $2,200 jump from second to first place. So do you want that extra over 2K or do you not?
Right.
That's basically the name of the game here. Justin's going to raise to 200,000.
So yeah, it was 1.8 million to 2.7. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that chip stack. You don't have to get crazy. If you're John, you can kind of settle into this and see what the cards are going to bring you. And if you're Justin, don't get my advice would be don't get too over, you know, like don't try to rush things.
Right.
You know, don't try to make things happen that maybe aren't going to. But now starting hand premiums are, I always say when you are playing heads up, if you ever get in this situation, I've seen it time and time again with amateurs and pros alike, is that you have to realize the situation you're in, and sometimes it's either, if you're in the small blind, I'm raising or I'm folding.
Right.
That you keep calling it a lot of times, you're giving up your opportunity if you fold your small blind, right? That if you
Yeah.
have that small blind, you have an opportunity that you can take down the blinds and antes from the big blind. So don't get too cautious of thinking, oh, like there, I've got 9-3 suited. Again, you're going up against another random hand. Keep in mind
Yeah.
that where you're at and what that other player might have, and how many times you have to raise and steal that big blind if you're John to try to, you know.
And there's only 4
work
cards
away.
in play at
Yeah,
the beginning of the hand,
exactly.
so just because you don't have a most primo hand doesn't mean the other person doesn't have absolutely garbage as well.
Yes, exactly. So I'm a big proponent of when you get heads up and you're in the small blind, it's either I'm going to raise or I'm going to fold.
They called you names.
Because I either want to take that opportunity that I have of being able to push the action first,
called you a
or
dog.
I don't want to give up that opportunity.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. We got
'Cause I was actually
now
at
here we got
12%
pre-flop,
12%
just
favorite.
calling the blinds. No more antes right now. And then Justin checked and John will bet 100K. And Justin will fold.
And on the opposite side of that coin, if I am Justin or if I am the big blind and somebody limps in, that I'm probably punishing more than often, especially if I see one of those above average hands. If I
Yeah.
see something that is above a queen 8, and for sure something that, a suited connector kind of, a 5-6 or a 6-7, I'm probably taking advantage of the situation that, and that's where is he weak or is he doing it because he's trying to make a play? More often than not, it's going to be because he's weak.
Take advantage of that small blind, maybe just trying to get a cheap pot, catch something on the flop because any 2 cards can win. Precisely.
But then again, I don't know.
We're not playing, so we can't possibly.
Those who can't commentate, as they say.
And those who can't commentate run video in the poker graphics.
So again, to recap here, second place tonight, $4,050, and first place is $62.35. So roughly, just under $2,000 difference, or just under a $2,200 difference between first place and second place.
I feel like we just blinked and now we're down to 2 players. Typically our final tables kind of take a couple hours to complete. Now I should stop talking because there's one
Yeah,
thing we
don't-
never talk about.
Don't jinx it.
No.
Don't talk to the pitcher. It's the bottom of the 8th. Don't talk to the pitcher. Justin is betting the turn, and he will take the pot down.
Can I hit that
We're going to do some color up here.
Color up our stacks of blues, which are 5,000.
No quacks.
Also want to thank again, you saw earlier on the stream, Thane Fliginger. Sponsor is one of our sponsors of Heavenly Hog. They have great food there. I remember one time I had a whole list of the pulled pork sandwiches and mac and cheese, and ended up saying, good.
Thane does a great job with his Heavenly Hog. I've had his brisket before at a home poker game. Fantastic.
on the chair?
Thane's one of those guys that I have seen so many times around Fargo, and he's one of those guys that people around Fargo Moorhead definitely recognize the name Thane Fliginger. Good dude. Hockey fanatic, big New York Rangers fan. Big New York Rangers fan.
I'm good, Goose? Okay, sorry.
And what is Heavenly Hog? It's a locally owned, operated catering service. You have a corporate event, family gathering, weddings, any kind of event you need some Heavenly barbecue hogs for, call Thane. He'll get your party taken care of. Make sure the bellies are full.
There's no anti-heads up.
Good, good.
Actions on Justin, and we might be seeing a little bit of a lull period when we're heads up with productions such as Poker Night in America, World Series of Poker, or wow, 3 screens. Your bigger nationally televised tournaments, you're going to see action when you're heads up, but when you're doing this live, you see all the hands in between where there's no action. And that's just how poker is, and it's totally fine. But at this point,
So this is one of those situations I was talking about, is that now he's in the small blind here, and it's 40K to call. He's got queen 4, and he's raising. Again, you're like, queen 4 raise, what are you doing? It is a totally different game now. Obviously, we see here that Justin's got a big hand. So this will be interesting to see how this plays. If I'm Justin, I come back over the top. Now I'm pushing the action at this point. I don't just call here.
if you find yourself turning up your volume as we're talking just now, it's because we are, again, literally 10 feet from the table.
There's Justin doing exactly what he should be, and that is re-raising. He's up to 500,000. That gets a fold. You know, sometimes you can do that. You can just keep leaning on a person, and eventually they might make a mistake, and they might call when they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Because they've had it done to them so many times, and that's, you know, that's kind of how the game goes. Is that sometimes you have to just keep leaning on a player and hope you get to the position where they're going to make a mistake. You keep that pressure on, which is why you do. He did exactly what I would recommend to do that with Queen 4. Slightly worse than the average random hand of Queen 8, but still, at this point, when I'm in a heads-up situation, I either raise or I fold out of that small blind.
Was not upset with any of the play there.
Don't get me wrong, this is still obviously one hand away from John doubling up and crippling Justin, so there's still a lot of play that is taking place here with blinds at 40 and 80K.
Really flip-flopping positions. John having half of Justin's chip stack.
You bet.
100 players got the day started today, just after noon, and here we are coming up on midnight. And actually a little after midnight as you watch this, because we're on a delay, but
107 players.
107 players down to these final two.
I suggest you go. Oh, I suggest you go. I'm really surprised you did this first.
I thought it was a Tired.
Justin announced fold and also announced he's tired. We're not sure if that's a bluff. He's actually not tired. He's trying to get in John's head, or he is actually tired. But just remember, about a $2,200 difference between first and second place. So you stay up a little bit later than normal tonight, but is that worth $2,200? I want to see these two battle it out to the bitter end, and no one quits just because they're tired. We know we're all tired. Keep fighting the good fight, Justin. So John raising to 160. Justin will call. Flop comes 4, 5, 10, all spades.
The guy that had the 9.
Your turn is going to be queen of clubs. Justin fires away for 400,000.
I got a cramp in my leg when I jumped up off the table. I got a big cramp.
So he's not relenting on his bet amount. He's continuing to increase. It does show strength.
Yeah, look at that.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Flips over one of his cards, but does pull in another nice sized pot.
Got about 10 minutes left at this blind level at 40 and 80K.
He's pretty unrelenting on. He's riding that high of cards coming
Do it.
to him.
Just do it. Just keep pushing.
May as
just
well.
keep that pressure on if you're Justin.
It's working eventually. Law of averages would say he would get caught eventually. But ride that high while you can.
Like here with this hand, I'm raising. I'm not. Like there, if you raise, you're getting 10-4 to fold. I mean, it's just.
Oh, so it actually goes to a
I'm just always a big proponent of raising. Have I told you that I approve of the raising out of the small blind? Have I told you that yet?
Huge approval.
Okay.
Flop
Flop
comes.
is 10, deuce, 9.
We have a turn of an ace after 2 checks. John checks to Justin, who will bet 100,000.
And he gets a call. The river's a 9. See if Justin keeps the pressure up. It looks like he is.
Federal law is only the government residence. Montana, so Montana has a cap mark, but it does not, on the residence, no. Because Mark was sorry, like Mark, there's, you can play right over.
Justin's appearing to reaching for chips.
I'm telling you.
Looks like he's thinking about firing out 250, I think is what he has in his
Yep.
hand there. So right now 360 in the pot. And that's what the bet is 250. That's a nice size bet. It looks right in between Value Town and Bluff, which is a great spot to be in. But John's going to make the call, and he's going to
Does
find out.
not take long.
It is going to find out that he has made the right call. There you go. So now in that pot, that was 860,000. So if you're Justin, you just lost $500,000 in chips because you didn't raise pre-flop.
That's all it took.
If you raise pre-flop there, 10-4 does not call you.
Not a chance.
And now you just lost half of it. See what I'm saying? That you keep seeing that will keep popping up over and over of a situation like that. And that's why, to me, the aggressive spot, especially if you're Justin in the small blind being the big stack. But then again, you could also argue why is John calling that with all of the danger that is on the board. But hey,
was a pretty dangerous board, and I think I'm confident in playing a home game with you now as you're giving me all of your your trade
Yeah,
secrets.
no, no.
We're going to check and a call, or call and a check rather.
I know poker's all about the cards, but a lot of the times it's about the situation, and you have to, pay attention to the situation you're in and be aware of the situation. Most of the times, I'm thinking about what somebody else is doing almost more than what I'm doing. Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
If I do this, what are they gonna do?
You were taking that deep. 500.
There you see, despite John winning almost $1,800,000 size pot, still just, was it over half?
Yeah, he's got Justin's still got a 2-to-1 chip lead.
Yeah, you get better than that. I was gonna look at Edward, Oh, really? I called it in places that I like,
About 6 minutes left at this blind level. Again, here's Justin in that situation with he's got a king 8. Don't limp, raise. There you go.
It's a raise to 200,000.
He's gonna get a call. This is a situation you're in. He gets a call from a lesser hand. Flop is Jack 4-3. So John has outflopped him.
Tune's awesome. It doesn't have any clubs on it. It's got a couple queen nice. Well, I like the Jaguar club, but it's
Now they both check.
it's like an yeah, there's no clubs.
John also with the flush draw. He gets that in the turn.
Yeah, no, I go to Cologne. Got 2 shows down there. I leave January 6th, and I'm there till March something. Yeah, I go down for a couple months.
John here betting $250,000 in chips, making Justin tank a little bit.
This is sudden. You can get a great house, especially if Paso's on.
He's going to lay it down. And so now John just under $2 million in chips. And one raise pot gets you right back into it.
You didn't have any hurry to get out of here, John? Not really.
Justin asking John if he's in a hurry to get out of here. Justin's definitely showing signs of fatigue, and not just that, but verbally showing signs of fatigue. He's vocalizing it. There are no chop pots here. It has not been mentioned, and it will never be mentioned. We will have a very clear winner. We're going to see Justin called our big blind. We're going to check around. We're going to check out the turn. John checks. Justin will bet 100K. John will call.
sees a momentum switch. It's a lot of chips going to change hands here on the river.
Two bed,
It's 4 bed, 4 bathroom.
River does come a queen of spades.
Not even 3,400 square feet.
John bets 150,000.
Not even,
I think Justin, or was that John?
you'll probably pick
That was
it up now
John.
for
Oh, that was Justin betting 150,000.
5% big get
John re-raised
excuse
to
me.
350,000.
Okay.
They don't have state income tax there. So that's where they pick it up.
Still probably not as bad as here.
So back to Justin.
Oh, God. That's where they tax on that.
Calls with his 2 pair, and that's not going to be enough. He
Yeah, they're
made the straight on the turn.
Which goes to show any two cards, whether they're primo or not, they're gonna win.
And now look at this. We've almost got an even ball game here at 2.5 million to 2.2, and we have a new chip leader for the first time at this final table.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'm not, my house was built in 2000 here.
About 1 minute before the blinds go up to 50 and 100,000.
Yeah, well, we get, that's what my brother says about the house, that's Fargo. Yeah, that's what we talk about. When they talk about how this stuff happens,
Attention players, this level will end in 1 minute. After that, a 10-minute break.
that's where they make, I have a buddy that lives outside of Houston.
John is raising,
8 years, 9 years.
and Justin folds. So now Justin in a position that he is not in the chip lead. As we had said, a spot that he has been the entire final table, really for the last couple hours he's been playing.
Okay, you want the full 10 minutes? 5?
All right, sounds like we're going to take a quick break here. Give the players a moment to get up and stretch for a second. I believe it's going to be less than, after this hand will be a rather quick break. Justin on the small blind. Looks down at ace. And Justin is all in. And John will fold.
That ace king?
So we're going to take a quick break here. So we'll be right back in a moment with more action on Dakota Poker Tour from the Speedway Event Center in West Fargo.
I should be big one, because I
what's his face raised.
Looks like 16,120.
I raised there with 500 on top. River comes before he even hits it.
I think we're ready up here whenever you guys are ready back there.
You went runner straight.
We're waiting for a pack.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's,
There you
should
go.
we do it?
And he told
Ian, I
me
think we're almost ready.
I want to do it.
So you know.
Right here. Or sure. No, you get a straight runner on a straight. You went runner perfect for straight. He told me he was shoving no matter what came on the river. That I was shoving like that.
Wherever you're comfortable, brother.
50? Yeah.
6230. Let's say 6200.
And
Count them down, 3, 2, 1. Goose, can you hear us? Yeah. Come over here a little bit. It's actually the lighting's terrible right there. Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1.
We are back here at the Speedway Event Center to figure out the conclusion of the Dakota Poker Tour Season X conclusion of our Speedway poker tournament. Justin versus John. We're going to see just now who's going to take home the top prize of $6,235. Let's get back to the action.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Shuffle up and deal.
All right, so just as a reminder, lines are up. We're now at 60 and 120K.
All in one call.
Attention players, the blinds have changed. The small blind is 60,000, and the big blind is 120,000.
All right, here we go. We got an all-in and a call. Pocket sevens versus queen four. Flop is 6, jack, ace. Turn is a king. And look at that.
What just happened?
Pocket sevens. We're going to take
That was
this
quick.
down.
I don't think we're over. I don't think it's over. I think
Okay.
We're done?
But Justin might have, or John might have Justin covered.
4, the queen pop.
I think he's going to have just a little bit left because John went into that hand with the chip lead, so there's not going to be much.
Find out.
Surprising there, turn of events with queen four and 7-7 getting it all in.
He's pretty much going to have to just go all in. He's got,
What happened during that break?
we broke.
We got a shot of energy during the break there. So by our counts where we're at, it looks like 275,000 will be the difference. We'll see how accurate that is. They're pretty good in the back about keeping these chips right on to where they should be.
You're killing me here. Sorry, one.
So either we have a champion or somebody who's going to be extremely short stacked as we head back to play with blinds at 60 and 120,000 with just having a couple of big blinds in front of them.
9, there's 2 million. 100,000.
There's 20,000 left.
2 million, 1, 2, 3, 100,000. 2 million, 300.
Okay, so we're back after that dramatic fade out. Wondering if we lost our feed. We did not.
50,000 back.
John will be left with 50,000 back. Can't even make a small blind. So, huh?
Shipping a chair. I have seen the comeback.
Well, we knew it was going to be close, and that's what it is, 4.4 million to 50,000.
Justin again, over just measuring his chip count and percentage. Everyone else has big blinds.
It's
Yeah.
2 chips, yeah, 2 chips.
In one chair. Sounds like a great rom-com film. It doesn't take long. It's
Alright.
like
Let's go here.
when you get a penny and you gotta double it,
Are you gonna fold
get to $1 million. It's like 20 levels.
Oh, geez.
John's all in no matter what.
Sip in a
There
chair.
we go. This is.
I did go.
8-3 versus Kings.
Oh, John has kings?
Yeah.
John has kings on the next hand versus 8-3. Justin hits an 8 on the flop.
Hold on, just say that again. 8 with 3 of hearts.
Turn is a 4 of clubs. And the river is a 9 of hearts. And just like that, John doubles up.
Now,
4 chips in a chair.
He can now afford a small blind.
yeah, now he's going to be in the big blind. So he's going to be all in automatically again. All he needs to do is do that about 5 more times, and we'll be there.
Ever flip a coin? John will 5
You
times.
go from 100 to 200, 200 to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 1 point. I mean,
I do understand. Okay.
the odds are long, but it could happen.
Going all in for 100.
Can Justin's hot streak
John's got 5 deuce. Justin's
Oh,
got
man.
6-5, so he's got him crushed.
absolutely 3 to 1 is that?
All right, let's see if this will be it.
That's trouble. 4, 5, 7.
We have 6, 8,
That's
10,
gonna do it. 6-5
4
is
and a
gonna win.
queen.
Justin Smith is going to take down the Speedway Event Center Dakota Poker Tour Championship for $6,235. Congratulations to him.
Wow, incredible tournament for Justin. We're going to take a short break. We're going to get some words from the champ. We'll be back very shortly to conclude our Dakota Poker Tour Season X event here at the Speedway. We'll see you soon. There you go.
All right, well, Justin Smith, our champion here at Speedway Event Center in West Fargo on Dakota Poker Tour, and you had a chip lead coming to the final table, but what maybe people didn't see at the feature tables, you had that chip lead for quite a amount of time where you had everybody covered and then some. Talk about playing with that big of a chip lead.
You know, with that many players left and such a great field, it was kind of, get it in when I actually had hands, don't try anything special, don't make any silly moves, and kind of let the field thin itself out, and then just maintain that chip lead and, pretty much try and coast as far as I can, and got me to the final table and watch the thin field, the field thin even more. And, once it got down to the last, 5-6 players, that's when it really started getting nitty gritty and had to find your spots and, make it count.
There was a spot where I believe we were 4 or 5 handed where you took a couple of big losses and all of a sudden you found yourself like, whoa, I'm vulnerable again. Did your process change at all? What were you thinking when that happened, when all of a sudden you've got this huge chip lead that dwindles and it goes away very quickly?
Yeah, it changed a little bit. I started playing a little looser when we were around that 5-6 handed mark, and once I got rid of quite a few chips, I had to tighten back up again, and got lucky on a few hands and in big pots too, and you gotta win a few of those, and once you do that, you can pretty much set yourself back up, and that's what happened tonight.
And it works out in the end. You have 6,200 and change. Biggest score in your life?
So far in my poker career, but the next one's going to be the bigger one.
There you go.
I like that way of thinking. Well, congratulations. Way to go. Our winner here today at the Speedway Event Center. Brian, a couple more events for people to play if they got the itch for poker.
Yes, before we get to that, I'd like to thank Rec Poker for coming out and helping us out, getting the word out about Dakota Poker Tour. Thanks for Chris Hansen for coming along and doing commentary. Thanks to all our sponsors, West Fargo Rural Fire Department. Our next tournament, June 4th, Friday, Yosemite Sam Reload. We're coming for you. And then the very next day, Southgate Casino in Grand Forks. Get to the gate. We're coming for you next.